A lot of people from my last video requested that I continue the series and make a playthrough guide on the mid-game, so here it is. So the mid-game usually starts after you have completed the university expansion, but some players have invested so much into the jobs skill tree that they get access to the internship feature during their clear of the university expansion. However, for most, level 30 to 40 will be when the mid-game begins. The meta for the mid-game is quite amorphous. However, there are generally two types of routes players can take for the mid-game. First is the vocational route. Players taking this route usually take the traits they gained from completing the university DLC and apply to be one of the game's workers. Now, workers are the first complicated mechanics the game has to offer. As such, many players are still struggling to adapt to the new status in the server. Workers are a class of players who exist as nodes within a blockchain. Each of the workers generate new products for the server and is rewarded by the system for creating them. Products that the workers make are recorded within a ledger, and the ledger is accessible via central console. However, only the members of the XXFTC Guide XX can access this ledger. Data miners, though, have determined that some of the products with the illegal tag have been detected throughout the server. The second route that players can take is the researcher route. These players usually pay money to unlock the premium feature of colleges, grad school. They then continue their climb up the ladder of academia, collecting rewards that the checkpoints give out. However, these checkpoints vary from player to player, so the researcher route is often taken by only the adventurers. Another mechanic during this stage of the game is marriage. Players will often have to decide between whether they want to function as a solo and keep the inventory private to others, or share the inventory with one, or in some cases, many other players. The benefits of having a shared inventory is that players can easily purchase game items that are usually too much for them to afford, and only have to face the minor consequence of the partner character. Players who are married will have the engaged trait, which gives plus 10 finance, plus 20 happiness, and negative 20 mental stability. The mental stability debuff will increase over time. Players who are newlyweds will also have the trait Honeymoon, which gives a 300% increase in the finance and happiness buff, but drops sharply later. Once players lose the Honeymoon trait, a new slot will be open for new players to join the game. Unfortunately, the two married players cannot customize the new player, at least not until the genetic engineering expansion. Generally, marrying is not a recommended strategy to scale into the late game, as its disadvantages outweigh its benefits later in the game. From level 40 on, the game will become noticeably slower and more mundane, and your character might begin to have suicidal thoughts. This is fairly normal. Once you reach level 40, you will automatically join the guild Old People and will constantly be raided by the Teenagers Guild, even though you are an ex-member of that guild. If your character has the married status, then you have a debuff called College for Children that gives you and your partner minus 100 finance and plus 80 stress. The game does say that the college and university DLC is a long-term investment for the future of the new players, but more and more game analysts have claimed that it's more like a repackage of the high school expansion pack added 100 patches ago. And that's pretty much it for the mid-game. I'm sorry if this guide wasn't as detailed as others, but the mid-game meta is so varied that it's hard to determine an optimal route.